Welcome to Pop Culture Shark Livestream with FinalMonkey and Caleb.
Today, we've got a great show for you. We are going to be talking about all great news that has been happening throughout the week, and some not so great news, but also not surprising. And we are going to be speaking on Rick Remender's last half of the Uncanny X-Force run. But before that, how's your week been going?
I really did something bad to my shoulder, so I've been on a lot of muscle relaxers, so it's getting kind of a blur. uh,
Nice.
uh, I have been watching a lot of Five Nights at Freddy's Ruin. Um, and you might be wondering, what is a 40-something-year-old guy doing watching Five Nights at Freddy's? And as a responsible parent, I have to check and see what my kids are into. And so they were really into Five Nights at Freddy's, so I started watching some Matt Pat's videos on to know what's up with it, and then I got hooked, and I fell down the rabbit hole, and I never escaped. I've never played 1 second of the games, but I have probably spent several hundred hours watching Five Nights at Freddy's videos. So,
As have I, and I don't have children. Um, and the thing that, and we were just talking about this off stream, the thing that interested me in Five Nights at Freddy's whenever I first fell down the rabbit hole isn't even what it's about anymore. And yet I'm still watching it because apparently it's all about rogue AI, which is super boring and not about evil magic possession, which is what I wanted to, which is what interested me to begin with.
yeah.
But now I'm still in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure why I'm still watching it. I'm just kind of hooked. I was like, oh, another installment. Time to tune in, see what FNAF or Matt Pat or Daco think about it. I'm just like, oh, okay, let's see what's going on. And I just like the villain. The villain's a great villain, and he's
I'm still not even sure who the villain is anymore. Like,
the purple guy. I mean, I know it's
yeah,
really not him anymore, but it kind of is. And the ending of this one made me laugh really hard through it. We won't spoil it here, but
which ending was it?
the elevator ending made me
Oh,
laugh really
jeez.
hard. But
I mean, there are the theories that wasn't actually him.
I know. We will do a whole Five Nights at Freddy's episode once the movie gets closer.
Sure, yeah. I was about to be like, no, I don't want to be one of those, but as the movie gets closer, yeah, sure, because that's honestly, that's actually what got me into it. Was like I avoided it like the plague, and then I saw that movie trailer, and I'm like, that actually looks pretty fun. And I'm also a fan of Willy's Wonderland starring Nicolas Cage, which was originally a Five Nights at Freddy's script.
Mm-hmm.
And so and the Banana Splits movie, which was also a Five Nights at Freddy's script.
Yeah, he shopped it around to a lot of studios, and he wasn't happy with any of the scripts, so he kept, so then they're like, oh, we got to use the script, and they would make a movie similar to Five Nights at Freddy's. So
yeah. So the movie is what got me into it. So I definitely want to talk about the movie. And I love Josh Hutcherson. Like, he's one of those guys who's like, he's not an A-lister, but you see him everywhere.
yeah, I'm a big fan of Matthew Lillard, so seeing him work is fun. So yeah, more to come later on Five Nights at Freddy's. So how was your weekend?
Good. I've started using Duolingo because I was bored yesterday. And I've learned some Japanese phrases because I was bored yesterday.
How much has the little bird or whatever it is threatened you?
Not much yet. I've been keeping up with it pretty well. I assume if I lose a streak, then it will start to threaten me.
I heard you saw a movie. What did you see?
Oh, that's right. So yesterday I saw Scream 6. I did, but that's not what he's talking about. I did finally see Everything Everywhere All at Once. So here's the thing, and there will definitely have to be a lot of discussion.
Uh-huh.
It is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I've finally seen it, and I still went into it, like, it's been, I don't know how long it's been, but it at least has been 7 months since it won all the awards.
Uh-huh.
And it deserves all those awards. It's phenomenal. It's not a multiverse movie. Like, anyone that like says that it's the best multiverse movie, I'm like, I don't think you understood what was happening.
For me, when I saw that movie, because I saw it like when it first hit theaters, is when I saw it. So like nobody was paying attention to this movie, and it took several days for it to really settle in what I had saw. Like my brain was just trying to absorb what had just happened.
Yeah, so me and my dad watched it, and then I had this thought in my head, and then we were talking about it, he reaffirmed it. I would just go ahead and, like, because it's been out for,
Yeah,
and I'm not going to spoil it.
mild
But
spoilers for the best picture from last year. Go ahead.
this is the one time where the only acceptable answer is that it's all in her head.
Really?
Yes, because it's not a multiverse movie. She's just imagining what her life would have been like. The only things that matter are the things that happen in her real life. Everything else is affected by what's happening in her real life.
I don't know if I buy that, but go ahead.
It's not a multiverse movie. Like, there's no timelines and splinters, and I mean, she's really just imagining all of it because it's a movie about regret. Because she's hold on. I understand that it may be less fun that way. But
I disagree, but okay. I mean, you can have your head cated. That's fine. I think it all happened, but
but yeah, there will definitely need to be some more extensive discussions on that movie.
Sure.
But yeah, and then I did see Scream 6, and it might be the best Scream movie since 4, which means that it's better than 5. For all you math blasters out there, that's how numbers work. But honestly, it might actually be the third best of the Scream movies. As it turns out, the reason I didn't like Scream 5 is because they didn't commit to the new characters. Because I didn't like any of the new characters in Scream 5. And like, we were just spending a lot of time with both them and the legacy characters. This movie, without legacy characters, they really came into their own. And I liked them a lot. So I will say, hello, Samantha. It doesn't hit as hard as hello, Sydney. Like, it doesn't hit as hard. I will definitely admit to that. But
is it still Mojo Jojo on the phone?
I'm not sure if it's this. It sounds like the same guy. You got me curious now.
Yeah, I haven't watched any Scream movie since Scream 3. That was the last one I saw. I was like, okay, we've kind of jumped the shark, and I haven't been back.
Scream 4. I mean, it is still Mojo Jojo. It's Roger L. Jackson.
Okay.
But so Scream 4 is actually like the second best one. It might be the best one, but it's hard to top the original. But Scream 4 is really good. And then this one's really good too.
Cool. All right. I think it's time to get on with the news.
Yes. So as far as news, we got a really exciting trailer. Do they give out awards for trailers? Like, is there like an Academy Award for best trailer?
I'm sure there has to be some group that does trailer awards.
There has to be, because Castlevania Nocturne, that trailer just kind of knocks it out of the park. Um, it's one of the best trailers that I've seen. And can we talk about production value? I knew that they were going to be upping the production value for this one over Castlevania, but it's night and day.
Yeah, I started to watch this trailer, but my wife had a bad headache, and the music really got to right when it started out, so I didn't finish watching the trailer. But yeah, the little bit I saw looked pretty cool.
So, how familiar are you with Rondo of Blood?
I've heard of it.
Okay.
It's familiar.
How about Symphony of the Night? Did you ever play that one?
No.
Okay.
I haven't played any of them since the. Did I play the Super Nintendo one? Probably the NES games was when I.
Okay. Out. Gotcha. So Trevor Belmont was like right up your wheelhouse. This one stars Richter Belmont, and for the most part, it says based on both Rondo of Blood and Symphony of the Night. I would wager that most of this is going to be Rondo of Blood, and we won't get to Symphony of the Night until season 2 or 3. Because Rondo of Blood and Symphony of the Night are kind of like a duology. But I'm really excited for this because as far as from the games are concerned, because I love Trevor, but that Trevor Belmont in the show was not the Trevor Belmont from the games, because it was an NES game and there was no character, you know? And so as far as just characterization we get from the game, Richter Belmont is the best Belmont. And so I am very excited for this. Even this poster looks amazing. I'm so excited for this. And I remember, like, even a couple weeks ago, I was just thinking about this, talking to Cameron, and I'm like, dude, like, they haven't said anything about this. I mean, is it not going to come out to like next year, maybe? And then they drop this and like, oh yeah, it comes out in September. And I'm like, what? Yes. So I will definitely be geeking out over this.
So I'm going to rain on your parade.
Okay.
Do you think this will still be as good as the first series since Warren Ellis is no longer involved?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Just because I don't think Warren Ellis could have written Richter Belmont.
Okay.
Warren Ellis has this. He's got this atheism to him. Mm-hmm. And Richter Belmont is heavily Christian.
Gotcha.
And I like if out of any of the Belmonts, Richter Belmont embodies good Christian boy.
Okay.
And so I don't think
Kirby.
Yeah, like Kirby. Unironically, but no, I don't think so. I don't think Warren Ellis could have written Richter Belmont.
And if you don't know why we said Kirby's a good Christian boy, check out Terminal Montage.
I still want that T-shirt. I always talk about getting that T-shirt. I'm just gonna.
Matthew has it, the one that says Christian shirt. Or
this is a Christian.
I
want it so bad.
Sadly, it faded, but yeah, it was a fun shirt before he got a little bit. He got to wear it. So,
what did it get faded from the washing or?
Yeah, the image chipped off. Yeah.
Oh, so, gotcha.
Which sucks, but oh well.
So now we're gonna move on from one bat to another bat. They have announced that Mask of the Phantasm is heading to 4K. And I almost want to buy this out of so I don't have a 4K player, but for some reason I have Batman through Batman and Robin, like the original 4 from the 90s and the 89. I have those on 4K. for no reason. Like, of course they came with the Blu-ray as well.
Right.
But I don't know. Like, I have this thing about buying Batman movies on 4K, even though I don't have a 4K player.
You know,
Um,
for years, the people at DC begged them to put Batman the Animated Series season sets out, or like the complete series, and they kept saying, "No, those will never sell." The DVD people would not listen to them, and finally they convinced them, and it's like their biggest seller. And they're like, "Oh yeah,
right.
we told you," you know. So
No, what would be sick? Because here's another thing. This would be like the fourth time that I own Mask of the Phantasm. Because I have it on DVD, I have it on Blu-ray, I think I have it on digital somewhere.
yeah,
um, I think you have it on VHS, don't you?
do I have it? No, I haven't. I don't. I don't think I have. I think it's DVD. I'm pretty sure it's DVD.
Okay. For some reason, I remember. Okay, so back in the day, uh, before we had phones, um, before we had phones, we actually had in cars screens that you could like play movies on that was connected to um, the actual car. And for some reason, let me know if I'm wrong. Did you all have like a minivan that had a VHS in it?
If we had DVD players, I don't think we had VHS. I think those were DVD players.
Okay, gotcha. I just remember watching Mask of the Phantasm in your all's minivan one time.
Hmm.
So if it was, that's why I thought it was VHS, because for some reason I have this image of like of there being like a VHS deck in like the middle of the car, and you just stick the. It's weird. It might have been someone else's minivan.
Yeah, because we had it was only things we've had is DVD players in our
Okay.
vans.
But yeah, I mean, I love the art style right here. I love what they have going. Um, did you ever read Batcat or a Batman Catwoman by? No, you didn't. It's by Tom King.
No, I did not.
I might have to have you read that one time. That was Tom King's take on the Phantasm, and it's really great. uh, I don't know. It's so insane that this character is forever in the vaguely canon. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it was based off what the Reaper character from Batman Year Two or something. Um, and
Kind of.
yeah, I mean it was
And even then, year two is not even canon.
yeah. So I mean it was a very based on a very obscure character, and they made one of the best animated films based on this character. Um, yeah, and then the Fantastic Beast shows up later in was it Justice League or Batman Beyond? I know it was in the Batman Beyond
it was
timeline.
it was in the Batman Beyond episode of Justice League
Yeah,
because Amanda Waller was going to pay the Phantasm to kill um
Terry's parents or
right.
dad or whatever.
I was trying to I know it's Mary McGinnis. I cannot Walter and Mary McGinnis, that's their names. So um and then she said that she couldn't do it because she couldn't do to Terry what happened. She couldn't create Bruce again, you know,
Right.
which is insane. That is such a good episode, and I think the longer it goes on, like the more everyone is okay with the twist. Because I remember a lot of people not being down with the twist.
I'm definitely okay with the twist.
I used to not be okay with it, and now I'm like, no, I'm way down with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited for this. Anytime to talk about Mask of the Phantasm, I'll take advantage of it because it's definitely one of the greatest animated movies of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Just ask Siskel and Ebert. They actually reviewed this one and gave it a better review than the also recently released Batman Returns. um, also,
And this movie flopped in theaters.
it did.
Yeah.
Next up, as it turns out, Lando is apparently still coming out.
Do you really think this is coming out?
Well, here's the thing. Like, I definitely forgot about this, and I'm like, and then it's like someone's like Donald Glover and his brother are going to be writing the Lando series, and I'm like, oh, that's still happening. Um, I also think that that's kind of like that's kind of weird to announce during the writer's strike. It's like, hey, there's a writer's strike happening right now, but Donald Glover is going to be. It's kind of like there's an episode of SpongeBob where they go on strike at the Krusty Krab, and it'd be like if Mr. Krabs was like, "Hey, I know that all of our workers are on strike, but try our new Krabby Corn Dog."
So I didn't actually read the article. Where's this news coming from? Did it come from Donald Glover himself, or did Lucasfilm say it, or do we know, or just someone just reporting it?
I believe it's someone just reporting it. You got me, and now I'm one of those people who is spreading what could be false information. So bear with me.
Because if you've been paying attention to any Star Wars news stories, especially even from Kathleen Kennedy, she tries to speak things into existence that are not really happening. So I'm curious which camp this is coming from.
Let's see. Variety has confirmed. Let's see.
So while you're looking that up, we've heard several rumors over the last couple of weeks that there's big shakeups going on at Lucasfilm. That Kathleen Kennedy is still president, but her powers have been stripped from her, and that there may be someone new in charge here shortly. Plus, you have the writers' strike going on and the actor strike going on. So I have a feeling that a lot of projects that were not far along will be canceled just outright. So that's why I'm wondering who is saying that this is coming out. Is it people trying to keep this alive, knowing that it may get canceled? So I think a lot of projects are about to get canceled due to the writer strike because they had like a time limit. They had to wait so many months for the strike to go on, and then they have legal reason to cancel a bunch of projects since the writer strike has gone on for so long. And I think we're about to hit that deadline. I think that someone said it was in August.
It was from the previous writer who left the project.
Okay.
Donald is a national treasure. Glad he and Steven get to carry the character forward their way. Can't wait to see you rooting for everybody black. Okay, yeah, so it was from...
This is from someone who's no longer on the project. So there's red flag number one. Someone's already been kicked off the project.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't, I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm just saying I don't believe anything is coming out from Star Wars until I see a trailer. Because they have canceled so many projects.
So here's my concern. Because I need Andor season 2 to be finished. Obviously, we're already getting Ahsoka.
Yes, that's coming.
Do you think we're getting the Acolyte?
I don't know. They've spent so much money on that there's a lot of different channels I watch. WDW Pro and Valiant Renegade, they say it's coming out. Cameron Posh is saying no, it's all smoke and mirrors. It's not coming out. I don't know. I tend to believe WDW Pro and Valiant, and just because you keep hearing about it, but it would not surprise you also when they said, oh, we're doing a tax write-off on Acolyte or something, and you'll never see it. I can see that also.
part of me, the more I hear about this show and the more I hear about who is on this show, I almost don't want it to come out.
Right.
But then there are some actors that I'm really interested in, because like the guy from Squid Game is in it, and Rue from Hunger Games is the star, and I love her. By the way, she's been in more stuff since then. I just can't think of her name. It's like Amandla. It's Amandla, not Amanda. Amandla Stenberg or something like that. But yeah, I think anything. I have hope for Andor season 2, and anything past that, I'd be surprised if it comes out.
So Cameron Pasha said about Acolyte is they'll just always be saying, "Oh yeah, that's coming along," and then just never release it, like they've done with several things, like the Rian Johnson trilogy. Oh yeah, they're working on that. Don't worry about it, And
it's a little different though, because we've gotten set pictures and they filmed. And
well, there are tax returns of how much they've spent money, $250 million on this show. That's why I think it's coming. I think it's coming out. But yeah, I saw a report today that there will be no blasters in Acolyte. And I'm like, what are y'all doing? what is this? This is not Star Wars.
So I get what they're saying. I don't understand why that's a selling point, but I get what they're saying.
Yeah.
Because you get something like Andor to come out, or like The Mandalorian, where it's all blasters and no lightsabers, and then you get something in the High Republic where it's all lightsabers. Which honestly, I think that's how you word it. You don't word it as there's no blasters. You word it as this project has the most lightsabers in live action. That's how you word that. Which you would immediately get my interest, because I watch Star Wars for lightsabers. And then something like The Mandalorian or Andor wins me over. I don't know. Have you heard anything about, because you are more into the
I like hearing the behind the scenes business.
Right. What would you call that? Like the leak fandom? What would you call that?
I don't know. I just like to know what's going on, the politics behind the scenes.
Sure. So you were more interested in hearing about that. Have you heard anything about Andor season 2?
I think it's still coming from what I heard, but I don't know. The writer strike and actor strike has everything screwed up right now.
Right.
And so there's a lot of stuff where people are, it depends on how far along it is. I would, a show like Andor is so expensive that the amount of money you spend on season 1 is because you're planning on there being a season 2, and you want to recoup some of those costs of all those sets and things you built.
Yeah.
So I would think there would be a season 2.
And they built sets for Andor. They did not use what is it called, volume? For like the little filming room that they have. I think it's called volume. They didn't use that for Andor. They built actual sets.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is I figured we'd want to talk about Lucasfilms a little bit, and I thought this would be a good segue.
Yeah, there's just a lot of chaos behind the scenes. Disney is chaos completely right now.
There was chaos behind the scenes before the writer's strike.
Oh yeah, there has been, but there's an earnings call August 9th. The last 2 or 3 have been crazy. Like people just calling up live and just chewing out Bob Iger.
Oh yeah, I remember that last one.
So this one's going to be insane because things are way worse now than they were. And I think once they announce, like if they announce the park attendance and the how many Disney Plus subscribers they've lost, and how the lawsuits with Florida are going, and all that stuff. Yeah, it's gonna be ugly.
And
And even like I think I saw some of their cruise lines are struggling. So even that is screwed. Like there's no place that's making money right now at Disney. Everything's like on fire right now.
was Disney Illusions any good? I haven't heard anything about that.
Is that
The game.
I've heard it's actually pretty good.
There we go. Success. We take the W's.
Yeah, I want Disney to get back to being Disney, and they're pretty hard headed right now. So we'll see what happens with Disney. A lot of people that I listen to, like WW Pro and stuff, they're like, Disney won't go bankrupt. Don't worry about it. And here lately, they've been like, we said they won't, but now it's just like, okay, how bad is it getting over there?
Well, and that's the thing is even if they go bankrupt, I don't think Disney goes away.
No, Disney won't go away. I would not be surprised if there's some type of government bailout of Hollywood in general. They're going to go up there and say, "Hey, look, we got hit with COVID. We got hit with the writers and actors strike. We can't survive unless we get an infusion. Entertainment's important. Blah blah blah." And it would not surprise me if there's some type of bailout. I don't think they deserve a bailout, but it would not surprise me if there's some type of bailout.
And then Joe Biden would be like, "Are y'all still making Rifleman?"
Yeah.
We can, Mr. President, yes. And that's how we get our Rifleman reboot.
Do y'all use those color televisions?
Oh, man. Mama would be elated. I would watch a reboot of Rifleman with her every week if they reboot it. I would be there, right there, watching TV Land with her. Now, speaking of leaks, here's the thing. You are very interested in the behind the scenes and with movie. I am very interested in leaks when it comes to video games.
Yeah, I don't know what this leak is that you're about to share. I've seen the supposed cast of Mortal Kombat, but I don't know who's in the. Oh, I guess Doom guy is here. Okay.
Yes. So there has been Combat Pack 2 leaks, and the Combat Pack 2 leaks. So we talked about the Combat Pack 1 and how disappointed I am in it because Ermac's design is really weird. And why do we need both Omni-Man and Homelander?
Mm-hmm.
This Combat Pack blows it out of the water.
Okay, so who we got?
So we've got 3 Mortal Kombat characters and 3 guest characters. I'm already not down with that because I am kind of done with guest characters aren't special anymore. Because every fighting game has guest characters, but these are cool. So the Mortal Kombat characters that are leaked, there's Kano, which Kano technically is already in the game, but just as a cameo fighter, like an assist character. Noob Saibot.
Okay.
And Serena. Serena, for those who don't know, originated from, I believe, she's the love interest of Sub-Zero in the Mortal Kombat Mythologies game. And she was playable in, I'm thinking, Armageddon, because everyone was playable in Armageddon. So those are interesting. But as far as the guest characters, we have the Doom Slayer, Harley Quinn, and Deathstroke.
Okay, so a bunch of DC people again.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm always going to be down for that, and I still quit because in Injustice we get people like Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Raiden. I'm still like, why haven't we tried Mortal Kombat DC again? I think the world is ready for it.
Have you seen the supposed list of the roster, the leaked list?
I have.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of okay with it. They did just and I didn't put this down, but they did release a new trailer yesterday that revealed Garrus from Mortal Kombat 11.
Mm-hmm.
Garrus is kind of a cool character. He's probably the most interesting character from 11, like one of the new characters from 11. Um, but yeah, like honestly, going into this game with all the leaked characters and all the leaked pack, this is like the weirdest Mortal Kombat cast I've ever seen.
Yeah, it is definitely. It's gonna be interesting. It's also like the cheeriest looking Mortal Kombat. It's like all bright and colorful and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's it'll be interesting. If I wonder if they're kind of showing everything as bright and cheerful right now, and then as you get further into the game, Shang Tsung's corruption starts just affecting everything. It gets darker and darker. I don't know.
Yeah. I also one of the things that I kind of am lamenting is so for me, my favorite Mortal Kombat game, and it was also the one that I was probably the most competitive in, was Mortal Kombat X. I love Mortal Kombat X, and so I love the Combat Kids, and it seems like we're moving away from the Combat Kids, and I'm sad about that because I love them. For those who don't know, the Combat Kids are the next generation, which is Cassie, Cage, Jackie Briggs, Takeda, and Kung Jin. Now, Takeda is coming back as a DLC character, which is cool. But I have not seen anything about Cassie or Jackie, and we haven't even heard about Kung Jin since MKX. So
Yeah, I mean, Sonya has not been announced, right?
no. Right now, she, from what I can tell, in fact, even from the leaks, I don't think she's going to be playable. I think she's only going to be a cameo fighter, which is
Oh,
insane.
yeah, she's not on the leak list now that I'm looking. Yeah.
Um,
Um, hmm.
because I don't think there's been a single Mortal Kombat game where she hasn't been playable. Um, I might be
Well,
wrong
Mortal
about that.
Kombat 2, but yeah.
Well, Mortal Kombat 2, yes. No, you are correct. But that's just insane. Like even like so Sonya wasn't in Mortal Kombat. No, I'm sorry, Johnny wasn't in Mortal Kombat 3,
Mhm.
or Ultimate, and then he also wasn't in. I don't think he was in either Deadly
Well,
Alliance or Deception.
he's in Ultimate. He wasn't
No,
in
he's not.
3. Yeah, that's how they added him.
No, no. See, the weird thing about Ultimate, so score.
Mm,
Oh, believe me, Ultimate is where my bread is buttered. And
okay.
yeah.
I
Um,
maybe I'm thinking of Mortal Kombat 4. There's some ending where he gets called back from heaven or intro or something to fight because he died in 2.
mhm.
Maybe it
uh,
is a later game. Okay, go
yeah.
on.
No, it was Scorpion who wasn't in Mortal Kombat 3, and then they brought him back in
Yeah,
Ultimate.
yeah.
That
I remember
that
that.
that was the big one. Um, I mean, like now that we're talking about it, Mortal Kombat has always had weird casts.
Yeah,
But you know what? I think Mortal Kombat, even more so than Street Fighter, has the most iconic cast members that it's impossible to fit all of them in one game. And if you do, you get a game like Armageddon.
yeah.
So everyone. I think at this point, and even then, I would have said Sonya was always going to be a guarantee, but doesn't look like it anymore. At this point, the only guarantees are uh, Liu Kang, Raiden, and Kenshi.
Yeah, I mean Johnny Cage is starting to become the face of the series.
Which I am down for.
Yeah, so
Um, I do think that I think the funniest thing that we're going to run into, because Obviously, the the god guardian of Earthrealm, whether it's Raiden or Liu Kang, they always make some sort of big mistake.
Mhm.
I think Liu Kang's big mistake is he has chosen his cousin Kung Lao as the champion.
That is always the mistake. Anytime they pick Kung Lao as the champion, it always goes wrong.
Yeah, I love Kung Lao, but too hot headed.
Yeah, I really liked Liu Kang's new fatality where he takes up like the edge of time and space, and
Oh
they
yeah. But yeah, I mean, like the more and more it gets closer, the more I get excited for this game. I mean, why wouldn't I? I'm one of the biggest MK fans that I can think of in the fighting game community. So, yeah, I'm definitely excited. And then finally, back to some bad news. I don't know why I did it this way. I just think this would be a funny one to end on because it actually will go into the main topic. Beyond the Spider-Verse is delayed indefinitely.
and I mean, pretty much as soon as the second one came out, the animators behind the scenes were like, yeah, there's no way this is coming out next March or whatever the release date was. They're like, yeah, we're nowhere near done with the third one.
I kind of wonder who comes up with these timelines.
So not just Sony, but movie studios in general, they try to book out the dates years in advance. So just to kind of stake their claim, oh, this is unannounced Sony movies coming out on May, whatever, blah blah blah. Just to kind of keep the competition away from that weekend. So, yeah, I would love if the follow up came out soon, but also I don't want it to be rushed. And I don't know. It seems like they were making changes to Across the Spider-Verse up until the last second. Even after the movie came out, they were still making changes to it. So I'm sure the writer's strike has grinded any animation to a halt. Because it seems like Lord and Miller are constantly changing things. So yeah, we probably won't see this till I'm gonna guess 2026 before we see this movie.
Oh wow, okay.
I don't think it's coming out next year, definitely. Unless the stories I've heard are wrong and the movie's almost done or something. I don't see it coming out next year.
I am sad because I came out of Across the Spider-Verse very I
Hyped.
can well optimistic. I mean, I even said, I'm like, dude, if they don't fumble this third movie, and I'm like, and they did these at the same time, kind of like Lord of the Rings style, how could they fumble the next movie?
Yeah.
That this will be the greatest superhero trilogy of all time. And now I think they're going to fumble this really hard.
It is really hard to say. Like I'm assuming they can't do much animation because of how much ad libbing they seem to do, but maybe they can. But then, like, I think Haley Steinfeld said, we haven't even recorded the lines for part 3. I think she might be mistaken because they record lines so far in advance, and they probably recorded 2 and 3 at the same time, and she just didn't know it.
I think she's, because they did change the names, because this used to be Across the Spider-Verse Part 1 and 2. And so I'm thinking that she's not taking into account that they changed the name.
Yeah. And I've also heard a lot of times, especially in Marvel movies, actors are just acting. Well, I know this is a cartoon, but Marvel movies in general, they are doing scenes. They don't know what the scenes are even for. They don't tell them anything. They keep the actors very much in the dark.
Which it shows in the acting.
so yeah. I'll be Mr. Negative late 2025, early 2026 for this one.
I'll be Mr. Negative in a different sense, which is, and this wasn't even on the list. Thank God, Secret Invasion's over. This wasn't even on the list. I feel like complaining about it. And anyone who thinks that Rhodey was not at Iron Man's funeral does not understand how you do a story.
Yeah.
Because that would be it would be horrible if Rhodey was not at Tony's funeral.
I still think they dropped the ball and should have had what the original Rhodey show up.
So here's the thing. I would have unironically been okay with that because then I at least get the satisfaction of knowing that Tony's best friend was never Rhodey and it was always a Skrull.
I mean, I would not have put it past him after the Ralph Boner nonsense. Like it's like, well, you might as well if you're gonna do that stupid stuff like that, then go ahead,
Yeah.
And he's coming back, by the way.
Who is the? Because I remember they've been like, oh no, he's not actually Ralph Boner. Now he's this character. Now he's that character. Because at one point it's like, no, he's actually Mephisto. No, he's actually Johnny Storm. Who is the character now?
They probably don't know. I don't know if he's supposed to come back in Agatha's TV show. I mean, that would make sense if you're gonna bring him back, but I think it'd be funny if she was making him Quicksilver and he actually is Quicksilver, and she just happened to pick an amnesiac Quicksilver and screwed it all up or something. Like she unwillingly plucked him from the other timeline and didn't realize it or something.
I don't know. I guess we'll. You know what? I keep saying I'm going to stop saying stuff like this because I feel like every time it's like, well, we'll learn more by Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Oh, we'll learn more by this movie. Oh, I was about to say, well, we'll probably get answers in Deadpool 3. I don't think they have any answers and they're just putting out movies.
Yeah, I think it is it's pretty clear that since James Gunn has left, there's not really anybody at the steering wheel. I think Kevin Feige keeps all the shows productions moving and stuff, but I don't think there's nobody at the steering wheel. They're just kind of like, we'll do this and let's see if this fits. Yeah, that fits. Okay, we'll do this, and they just know that Kang needs to be the villain, and we need to get to Secret War somehow. So there's going to be some type of Beyonder, whether or not that's Kang or Doctor Doom or whatever. We got to get to there. Okay.
And here's the thing. I would be okay with that because in a way, that's how the first 3 phases were.
But you got to concentrate on making a good movie first before you try to say, oh, we got to make sure we reference this or lead up to this or that or whatever.
Exactly. I mean, they're not worried about making good movies anymore. They're not worried about movies. They're worried about a franchise. And that's the problem.
Yep.
I don't know. But speaking of Deadpool,
let's get to the main topic.
Yeah. This Uncanny X-Force, part 2. I'm comfortable with calling this part 2 because I think Dark Angel was such a good stopping point, and then we're obviously picking up with the story and it's affected by stuff that happened previously, but I think we are very confidently in a different era of X-Force.
Sure. So I would say that this is, I feel like the first half is building up to Dark Angel Saga, and now this is all fallout from that. Everything is, this is
in a way. I mean, more accurately, it's fallout from the apocalypse. From the apocalypse solution.
The first story, yeah.
I mean, you kill a kid, that's got to come back to you at some point.
Yeah. So if you don't recall, or if you didn't watch our first recap of Uncanny X-Force, what happened was they got word that Apocalypse was back. They went in. Wolverine formed a team of mutants that would do the dirty work and take these threats out before they became a bigger threat. And they went to kill Apocalypse, found out he was a little kid, that he'd been reborn as a kid, and they couldn't do it. And then Phantom X did it anyways. He shot him. And
they're like, we got to talk about this, guys. Bang.
Yeah. It's like, no. But what happened was Phantom X grew a clone of the kid and raised him like in a wholesome environment to see if it's really the nature versus nurture thing. And he didn't tell anybody that he did this.
Yeah, and that was Evan, aka, was his name Genesis?
Genesis.
Gotcha.
So Angel started becoming Archangel, the heir of Apocalypse, and they realized that there was no way to stop him. They ended up stabbing him with a life seed that kind of basically destroyed his soul and kind of rebooted him with a new soul. So he has no memories of the past, no nothing. He's like a child. So they've sent Evan and Angel to Wolverine's school that he has started. And so now we pick up with Phantom X has been kidnapped by the Captain Britain Corps, and we go to the other world. And what did you think of this story?
So I had a lot of questions because I was always under the impression that Captain Britain was just Britain's answer to Captain America, like he was like a super soldier or something.
No.
Yeah, so I apparently knew nothing about Captain Britain. Is he a mutant?
I don't believe he is. He is
Okay.
like the he had to choose between a like the sword of I'm sure I've got this all wrong. Like the sword of Camelot or the shield, and he chose the sword. So he's the protector of our realm. There's a lot of stuff of Merlin, and like each reality has their own Captain Britain. So he's the 616 Captain Britain. This is all from Alan Moore's run way back when. So Captain Britain stories are tough because they don't reprint the Alan Moore stories. They've only reprinted it one time, and it's way out of print. And I just happened to read it at the library when I was like 20. So I have these vague memories of this really awesome story about Jim Jaspers and the Fury and all these Captain Britons dying and stuff, and Psylocke and all this stuff. And like they don't even have these stories on Marvel Unlimited. You cannot read those Alan Moore stories. So they're always referencing those stories, and it's like it's very frustrating.
Yeah, I've been dealing with that lately in South Park because there's the two South Park episodes that are banned because of all the Muhammad stuff.
Mm-hmm.
With and Tom Cruise trying to kidnap him. But the more important thing is that it turns out that Scott Tenorman is Cartman's half brother, and Cartman killed his own father.
I really need to start watching South Park again.
Well, and the thing is they will never be able to follow up on that because those episodes were only aired once.
Yeah.
And never re-released. And so, and I just watched them for the first time recently. I'm like, these are great episodes because you all know what that means.
Yeah.
But I watched them recently. I'm like, these are great episodes, and this is such a funny twist, and they will never reference this.
Yeah.
So I at least appreciate that they, even though I don't understand what's going on with Captain Britain, I'm glad that at least, they're not completely ignoring something that they're technically not allowed to reprint.
Yeah, and this is a lot of Excalibur stuff too. Stuff about her brother Jamie being insane and being a reality warper.
Wait, hold on. Okay, so it just now, because I knew there was an X-Men team called Excalibur.
Uh-huh.
It just now hit me. That has to do with Captain Britain and Betsy.
It's Kitty Pryde, Captain Britain, Nightcrawler, Megan, who's the shapeshifter girl that they were teaming up with, and Phoenix, Rachel Gray Phoenix. They were the original Excalibur. They lived in Surprise. They lived in England, and they had all kinds of wacky adventures. A lot of them were dealing with other realities and stuff. It was a more lighthearted X-Men book. But one of the threats that they fought towards the end of Claremont's run on that was Jamie Braddock, her brother, who totally insane, but he can warp reality. So in this story, you're dealing with a Jamie that's sane, and on the good guy's side. So getting back to the plot real quick, they put Phantom X on trial for killing a kid, and they're like, yeah, we're just going to wipe you from reality. You are obviously affecting everybody. You're affecting my sister, leading her down a dark path. We're just going to wipe you from reality.
Well, and he is also, if I remember correctly, he is the only Phantom X, right? Like there are not any other Phantom
They
X.
said in this story that he is the only Phantom X in any reality. He's unique to the 616 universe.
Dude, Phantom X is dope. Like I said, by the end of this discussion, I will have questions.
So these are all of Nightcrawler's former teammates. Nightcrawler is dead at this point in storylines. So this is the Nightcrawler from Age of Apocalypse, a very different Kurt. And so everybody keeps trying to interact with him, like, "Oh, my elf is back." He's like, "Don't call me elf," you know. So you got that going on, and there's like an invasion of Otherworld that starts happening. We also have the Skinless Man running around.
Yes.
He is one of the Weapon X projects.
I was not familiar with Skinless Man, and
this is his first appearance.
Okay, gotcha. I am already kind of like I want to read some more of this character.
I don't know if there's any more of him outside of these stories. I don't know if he ever comes back. These are only 2 stories I've read with him in it. Basically, at some point, he was betrayed by Phantom X, and his punishment was having all his skin removed. And Phantom X made bullets out of his skin. They were sentient bullets. We saw those in the first half of the story. He was using those. So yeah, it's this guy with no skin that has like the judge's wig on, and he can control all of his muscles, kind of like Mr. Fantastic a little bit.
He's really, almost kind of like a Carnage in a way.
Yeah, he's a terrible sociopath character. So along the way, Psylocke has to make a deal with some of the inhabitants of Otherworld, and she gives away all her sorrow. So now she can no longer feel, I guess, guilt over, just the sadness over all the stuff that's happening. They end up finding that the bad guy, the Scope guy that they've been fighting, is a Jamie from the future that gets possessed by, I guess was it a demon or something? I can't remember now.
Demon, yes, I believe it was
something. Yeah.
Possession. So
they figured out that if they kill Jamie now, he'll never unlock the Scope thing. And so Psylocke, Captain Britain, can't do it. So Psylocke has to take control of his body and make him kill his brother.
Yeah.
It's dark.
And also remember, she is also killing her brother.
Yeah. And this is what they've always wanted, was him to be on the good guy's side. He's finally cured. He's finally sane, and they have to sacrifice him. And so once again, we've seen X-Force cross this moral line, and it's really starting to, it's affecting Deadpool. Deadpool is having really bad issues.
Oh man, so
what's going on
throughout this entire run, Deadpool has been one of my favorite characters. He really doesn't he really doesn't have anything personal to do in these stories. if you know what I mean, like none of these are really like
Deadpool
Deadpool
centric stories. Yeah, these are
Yeah,
not Deadpool centric stories. He's just there, and yeah,
and I mean it's, I mean, and you know
he's like
it's
I love
great.
killing, but I can't do this anymore, guys. You know.
So um, as far as you know, answering your question, um, I it is so
Do not
difficult.
do not ask me who Widget is. It'll break your brain. The little robot guy floating on the cover there, the little head.
Yeah.
Don't you don't want to know how that's
Oh, I've just accepted that I have no idea what's going on with Otherworld. um, so these are because you said that like Dark Angel Saga is kind of the peak, and nothing really ever reaches that. Um, I get what you're saying, but like, I mean, this stuff is still really good.
Well, I had forgotten a lot of this, so now I'm rereading. I'm like, you know what? These are actually better than I remember.
Yeah.
But that Dark Angel scene where where him and where Warren and Betty live out their whole life, it still gets me. That is,
Yeah.
oh,
And I was concerned because I knew, because you told me that like the next story was a Captain Britain story, and obviously I knew nothing about Captain Britain, so I'm like, oh, what does Captain Britain got to do with X-Force? What's happening here? Like, what do we? And I mean, like, I legit knew nothing about Captain Britain, and now I want to learn everything about this character.
well, now I wish there. I'm sure there's some way online to read those Alan Moore issues. I mean, they
How,
are
how long are they?
insane. I'll say 30 or 40 issues.
Oh wow!
It's a long run, yeah. And it is messed up. They're fighting like the ultimate. He later becomes retconned as a Sentinel, but the Fury. I mean, it's the scariest type of Sentinel that's ever been in any comic book. It kills everything.
Isn't
And
that
he,
isn't that supposed to be uh Nimrod though?
yeah, but Nimrod's got nothing on the Fury. The Fury is terrifying, and then you got Jim Jaspers, this insane guy that can warp reality. So you have these two different threats that are happening.
Jim Jasper sounds familiar, at least.
Well, we may have named one of our puppets after that we had at Children's Church.
That might be it.
There was a hairless cat named Jim Jaspers. Anyhow, um, but yeah,
Anyway, yeah, no. So this one, I mean, this is, and you know what's funny? This is it's so on brand for X-Force, and yet it also feels like a tonal whiplash, and I love it.
yeah, it's a lot of all of a sudden here's elves and skeleton warriors and zombies, and you're like, wait, what? Where are we at?
Like
And
like Dark Angel is such a, first of all, it's sort of like it's a sort of time traveling story, because like, you know, you could say that Age of Apocalypse is like an alternate universe, but in a way it is kind of like an alternate future, and it's also so personal because it has to do with Warren, and he's a member of the team. And then we just get Otherworld. And I mean, like, it honestly, I think this is the only way that you could have followed up Dark Angel Saga, because I don't think you could have gone from Dark Angel Saga to Final Execution. I think you needed Otherworld.
yeah, you need something in the middle there that's a palate cleanser, and then you get back to the. I say get back to the story, but this is still the story.
Yeah, no, definitely. But you definitely need something a little. I'm not gonna. It's hard to say that this is less personal, but it's like, I don't know. It's just so weird. And that's why I love these books, is because they are so weird and out there.
Yeah. Um, so at the end of this, they kind of forgive Phantom X, and
We
they're like,
forgive you for killing Kid.
yeah, it's kind of like, okay, we get it. We see why you did it now. And you help save
That's
the day.
Imagine a kid reading this and be like, because comic books are for kids. He's like, oh, I can kill a kid as long as it's for the greater good.
So what's really weird was I finished up reading Captain Marvel this past
Marvel.
week. Marvel, the Peter David run about Captain Marvel's son that's trying to live uh, in his follow his father's footsteps. And one of those stories involved him traveling to the future and meeting the kid that he's going to have one day, and meeting him as an adult, and he becomes a bad guy and he's about to destroy the whole world. And finally, Captain Marvel goes, "Oh, I know how to beat you." And the son's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I'm sorry." And all of a sudden, the guy starts fading away. He's like, "No, no, Dad, Dad, I love you. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this." And then it shows, Captain Marvel returns back to modern times, and it shows him years and years later, once he's married and has kids, and he's looking at the baby in the cradle. It fades to black, and you're like,
Jeez.
"Holy crap!"
And
So
yet Deadpool 2 can still make me laugh at that.
yeah, so I mean, and then I was reading Silver Surfer, and he had to make a judgment call. He went back to being a time, and he could had a chance to kill Galactus before he came Galactus. So this theme is happening a lot in these comic books of, if you could stop evil before it has a chance to become evil, do you do it?
Which is so it's such a weird thing, because going back briefly to Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Mm-hmm.
I swear this is relevant. Uh, Cameron brought up because like we said, the movie is about regret, and Cameron brought up, is like, yeah, it's kind of like those questions of, if you could go back in time and change something, what would you do? The question is really, what do you regret?
Right.
Because no one would actually go back and kill baby Hitler. It would always be something
You
personal.
said the word. Okay.
Oh,
we just got flagged by something.
I didn't say it. I said baby Hitler.
Blah, blah.
Yeah, that's what I said.
All right. I was like, because at first I was like, I'll stop him. And then you changed it to something else. Okay, good. He didn't say it. Then you said it. I was like, dang it. It's all right.
I wasn't thinking.
YouTube is weird. Anyhow, so let's move on to the next part of this story. The team is really screwed up. Psylocke finally gives in to Phantom X's romantic advances. But she's so screwed up that she just finally gave in.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day she's like, I'm out of here, I'm quitting the team. And the Phantom X is like, well, if you're gone, I'm gone, there's no reason for me to be here. So they both leave the team.
It kind of reminds me of I was watching Asmongold the other day, and Asmongold says it like it is. He's like, listen, the only reason that I'm into crazy girls is because anyone who's into me has to be crazy. And I'm like, that's probably what's going on with Phantom X.
Yeah, Phantom X, if you don't know, he's like this. He was kind of a Weapon X project, but he's kind of like a super spy. But he has 3 different brains, and which is weird to say. But he has 3 different brains, and they're all kind of influencing what he's doing at any moment. So one of the brains is completely evil, and so he's always doing stuff that.
That's another thing. They started killing the brains in the last in Otherworld.
Yes,
they were killing the brains one at a time.
Yeah, it's wild. So anyhow, we see Deadpool. He's gone on a mission, and I guess at this point in his own book, he has lost his healing factor, which I know is all jarring. All of a sudden, he has no healing factor in the story. But he's gone on a mission, and he has found a facility that can create any type of an assassin you want, and so they have made assassins using Omega Red's DNA of his supposed children, um, and given them false memories that X-Force had killed their parents. So Wolverine and Nightcrawler go rescue Deadpool. Um, you'll notice a pattern in these stories when you read them all back to back to back, whereas everybody gets infected with cancer or this or that or whatever. It happens over and over where they, the villains will use some type of disease against them or something.
It's kind of like, do you remember I don't know if you've ever watched the Harley Quinn show, but I don't know if you've even seen the clip with the cancer ray.
I have not.
Oh, so Harley Quinn just picks up a random gun in like a mad scientist lab and shoots one of the goons that are after, and then she was like, "Cancer ray? Who would make that?" And he's like, "You gave me cancer. Screw this. I'm going home to be with my family." And she's like, "Sorry."
That's very much a Venture Brothers joke.
It is.
One of my favorite Venture Brothers jokes is Brock is fighting all these henchmen, and he's like killing them all left and right. Very violent. And then he grabs the one guy by the crotch, he's squeezes it, and he's like, "Oh, whoa, I feel a lump. Whoa. That doesn't feel normal." The guy's like, "What?" "Yeah, you know what? You should really go get that checked out. That really doesn't feel good." The guy's like, "Oh, God." He's like, yeah, sorry, bud. So the guy just hobbles off crying and stuff.
I need to watch Venture. I've had so many people tell me to watch it.
Venture Brothers is incredible. The new movie is out. I really want to watch it. So anyhow, back to the story. Phantom X hooks up with Psylocke again. Only it's not Psylocke, it is Mystique. And they realize that, hey, something's up. All the members of X-Force are being targeted. It turns out there's a new Brotherhood of Evil Mutants that is after them. We see Psylocke get confronted by Xavier and Angel. Only it's not them. It's the Shadow King messing with her again. And we see the kids at Wolverine's school going on a field trip. And Evan gets kidnapped by the Blob and Sabretooth. And this Blob is not our Blob. This is the Blob from Age of Apocalypse.
Yeah, and can I just go ahead and say, I think this might be my favorite Brotherhood of Mutants lineup.
It's a pretty cool lineup, yeah. I would say that the Omega Red children are probably the weakest link of it, but the rest are really cool. Mystique, Sabretooth, Blob.
And their leader...
Oh, sorry.
No, yeah.
Dakin or Dakin or however you say it.
I don't know how to pronounce it,
yeah.
So what is he originally from?
So they did a Wolverine origin type series, and it was all about Dakin or Dakin or whatever, about this child that Wolverine did not know he had. And then eventually he gets recruited by Norman Osborn to be the Wolverine on Dark Avengers and all that. So yeah, this is kind of the end of his story. We'll get to that here in a minute.
Okay.
So yeah, Psylocke and Phantom X ends up rescuing Psylocke, but the Skinless Man catches up with him, rips his heart out, I believe, if I recall right. So Phantom X is dead. Well, he kind of sacrifices himself so she can get away. And I don't remember how Wolverine all them catch back up with her, but they end up going to the base to regroup, and the Brotherhood's already there. They already have Evan, and because Phantom X is dead, they have lost control of that robot. I can't remember his name. It's like Apollyon, whatever that robot's name is.
Eva.
No, not Eva. The other one, the one that was guarding the world for him. He's only been in it a little bit. I can't remember his name.
Okay.
Anyhow, Eva has now rebooted herself. Now FanMex is dead, and she's her own individual instead of just a spaceship. She's actually a robot or whatever. I guess a sentinel. I don't know what she is. Um, so they end up killing Gateway, the teleporter guy, and so Psylocke uses his last moments to teleport them somewhere. They end up getting teleported into the future, and this is the part I really like. I love it when they go to a possible future. Anytime X-Men does this, I'm on board.
I mean, that's the name of the game with X-Men is possible futures.
Yeah. And so they run to Deathlock again, and he's like, "Hey, come with me," and he's actually wanting to kill them because he doesn't like the future that they are in, and the future that we are in is a world that is ruled by X-Force. And basically, what happened was Apocalypse rose to power thanks to the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and X-Force had to stop him.
And that was Evan.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So Evan rose to power, so they had to take him out, and then the world loved them as heroes. And now it is Minority Report, where anytime there's any premeditation of committing a crime, they will execute you on the spot or stop you. Mm-hmm. And so it's like Punisher's working for them, and Cable and Hope and everybody. And so Wolverine's like, our Wolverine's like, no, we will not turn into this. And they're like, you're already going down this path. You've already started this.
Which one of the... Not only do I love alternate universe, alternate future stories, but I love the Justice Lords. Mm-hmm. And that's really what this is.
Yep. And Psylocke's like, I'll never be this. And then you see that Psylocke's the one running everything, or Wolverine. Yeah. And they start dropping hints. This is where we're going to spoil everything. They start dropping hints that Nightcrawler's going to betray them. And, they're basically telling you what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But future Wolverine whispers something in Wolverine's ear, and we don't know what it is till the end of the story. And so they end up going back. And so now it's like, okay, we got to go rescue Evan. No matter what, we have to stop them. And they're doing horrible things to Evan. They are taking him to gas stops and saying, hey, either you kill Sabretooth or Sabretooth's going to kill everybody in the building. and Evan's like, I will not use my power. So they're like, fine. And they just start killing everybody. They kill his fake parents. Shadow King puts it in his mind that they've, his Ma and Pa Kent type parents, they kill them. Mm-hmm. They animate Phantom X's body and make him think Phantom X is alive. And they're like, just kidding, he's still dead, and they're just being terrible to Evan. And if you haven't read Wolverine the X-Men yet, but Evan is like the sweetest kid. So to see him being put through this is horrible. He's the shy kid that, he just wants to be friends with everybody. And they're just,
I was wondering this. Where during Wolverine and the X-Men does this take place? Still towards the beginning, or?
Yeah, I'd say, I'm assuming this is pre-AVX. So this is probably the first 6 issues of Wolverine and the X-Men or so.
Okay.
Somewhere in there, probably right before AVX. And they don't, in Wolverine and the X-Men, they don't ever call him Apocalypse. So here to see Kid Omega flat out calling him Apocalypse, that's a little jarring because they don't ever do that. And everybody's kind of hush hush, like, oh, don't mention Apocalypse around him, Yeah, you got to meet Kid Gladiator. I love Kid Gladiator. He's so much fun. Let's see. I'm such a huge fan of Wolverine and the X-Men. I'm really curious to see what you think of that when we get to that.
It's going to be hard to top this, I'll be honest.
Oh, no, this is totally very different. But it's kind of like my favorite. Like, they've done Young X-Men so many times. We've had Generation X, New Mutants, whatever. Wolverine the X-Men is my favorite version of that, of the future of X-Men.
Okay.
All right, so back to our story. Where were we? Oh, they've been torturing Evan. So Deadpool,
I believe Psylocke, she even tries to kill herself, like with like seppuku.
Yes, she did that in the future. I skipped over that.
Oh,
and,
okay.
and so the future X-Force saves her life and all this. But yeah, she's like, I cannot live with myself anymore. Because yeah, she's had a rough. Last few storylines have not been kind to Psylocke at all.
You know what's funny? I've always said that if you watch the 90s show, then you have a at least a decent enough knowledge of X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think the farther and farther we get away from the 90s, I'm like, no, you don't.
Yeah. So here's the thing about Psylocke. When I started reading X-Men back in the 90s, she was just a ninja that flirted with Cyclops all the time. And so I never liked her. She was just the girl that wore the skimpy outfits, kind of that she was the slut. I'll say it. And you find out later that what's happened is that she is now in the body of Kawanin, I think is her name. Like she started out, she was a British girl. Now she's Japanese. And so she switched bodies with her. And so like their personalities are affecting each other. So Kawanin's personality is making her flirt with Cyclops and whatnot. So yeah, I never really liked Psylocke until I read Uncanny X-Force. And now I'm like, oh, I really like this character a lot.
And my exposure to Psylocke was Marvel vs. Capcom 2 because everyone played as her.
Yeah,
and that's all I had.
Yeah. So I believe it's when she tries to kill herself. It's when she has the vision with Angel again, and Angel's telling her to, it's time for you to move on with your life, and we'll be together again someday, and all that stuff. Which is really touching. But when she comes out of that, she thinks that the older Psylocke put that vision in her head. She doesn't trust that vision that she just had. So anyhow, they are invading the base. Mystique at some point makes a deal with Kurt. Says like, hey, if you join up with me, I'll let you get revenge on the Blob who killed your wife in the AOA timeline. And so Kurt ends up betraying them. Deadpool ends up getting to Evan, and they're trying to escape from everything. I know I'm getting some of this out of order, but we have this crazy final fight between Nightcrawler and Blob where he teleports a shark inside of the Blob.
Yep.
and
he
the
eats
shark
him from the inside out.
Yeah, it's gruesome. I don't know. I mean, this is really all Jeff Loeb's fault. The idea of Blob being a cannibal was introduced in Ultimatum, where I think he ate the wasp in that story.
Yeah.
So I don't like Blob being a cannibal. It's really gross.
Well, and it's just based on a joke.
Yeah,
because he's fat.
We'll have to talk about Jeff Loeb some other day about how he screwed up the Ultimate Universe so bad.
I mean, if we talk about Jeff Loeb, it'd be more than that. I just talk about how Jeff Loeb's a horrible person.
We love you, Jeff.
We do?
Anyhow, he gave us Teen Wolf, okay? He gave us Teen Wolf and Commando, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. Let's see, what am I forgetting here? Psylocke has a big fight with Shadow King. They end up trapping Shadow King inside one of the Omega Reds.
Eva confronts Nightcrawler.
Yes. And she's kind of kicking his butt, and then Mystique and Nightcrawler sneak away. So I was like, wait, whatever happened to AOA Nightcrawler? So I was looking it up. They just killed him off in one of the sub storyline. I think that the Extermination storyline where they were dealing with Bendis's young X-Men finally. I think they were killing off anybody that wasn't supposed to be in this time stream, so they killed off the AOA Nightcrawler. So obviously Rick Remender and Jason Aaron probably had bigger plans for that, but then Bendis, of course, blew everything up. So anyhow,
he tends to do that.
Yeah. And and you're gonna see that in Wolverine and the X-Men, how we have this really great thing going, and then also Brian Michael Bendis shows up.
So, are you getting me to read something and then be disappointed by Bendis?
Oh, it's still a fun run. I want to introduce some new characters to you that are just like Evan and Brew, and I know you've read Kid Omega before, but kind of modern Kid Omega and Kid
Yeah.
Gladiator and ID and all that stuff. There's some fun characters, and this picks up storylines from Astonishing Wolverine and Spider-Man that we read a while back.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so it's going to tie into all that. See, I've been making you read everything. It's all going to hook together.
It's all coming together. You're like Kevin Feige of the pop culture shark universe.
Well, here's my goal of these book clubs is modern X-Men is kind of a mess right now. Modern Marvel's kind of a mess. So I'm trying to point out there's really good storylines that you probably overlooked that are not that old. I mean, this story's about 15 years old, I guess. There's good stuff that, you know, people say, oh, the X-Men era after Grant Morrison or after Joss Whedon is crap. Well, no, there's still good stuff in there if you look for it.
I mean, I was definitely I mean, I guess I'm still right, because I always said it was after AVX, which I guess in a way I'm still right, because this is all pre-AVX. But yeah, this was all like side stories that I wasn't familiar with.
Yeah. Yep.
Also, speaking of modern X-Men, you know what I found out about modern X-Men that I had no idea about? Did you know that Moira died again?
Well, I knew she got turned into a robot. You talking about before or after that?
I think it might have been after that. She's on Life 11 now.
Yeah, that's when she became the robot.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I think that was at the end of Hickman's, like him leaving. That's how he left it when he left the book or something.
I mean, honest, I want to catch up just because, like, if they're in such a deep hole that Hickman dug. And here's the thing, I'm not saying that. So Hickman dug the hole, and he was the only one who knew how to get back.
Yeah.
And so it's more just like interesting trying to figure out how they get out, because they've got.
I'll be very curious a year from now what X-Men looks like, because right now they're doing Fall of X, where it's supposed to end all this.
So is it? Because I mean, like they're going back. Well, I guess they are going back to Age of Apocalypse.
Yeah, I mean, this is the third and final Hellfire Gala. They're finally, I hope. I don't know.
Oh man, I wanted to be able to report on the Hellfire Gala every year for the next 10 years. It would have been amazing.
Wait, did you hear what they did at this one?
No.
So they've been having every year at the Hellfire Gala, the readers get to pick a member of the new X-Men team. So it's like an online poll.
I remember the first year it was Polaris, right?
I think so. So this year, you know, there's like 6 candidates. Well, they said, you know what? All 6 of them get on the team, and then they killed them all off immediately.
I mean, I respect that. Who's writing X-Men right now? Who is that?
Is it this is off the top of my head. I don't know. I think it's Ewing, but I'm not sure.
Is it someone? I'm just wondering if it's someone I respect.
If it's Ewing, he's the one that wrote Immortal Hulk and all that. Here's the thing about. We'll get back to X-Force here in just a minute. Here's the thing about the Krakoa era is all of the Psylocke stories are all about Otherworld and all the Captain Britain stuff. And that's been going on since the beginning of the Genosha era.
I'm still because I promise we will get back, but I have to know who is writing X-Men right now.
I feel like there's 2 main X-Men books, and I feel like one of them is the guy that was writing Wolverine. At least last I heard. I kind of stopped keeping up with all of this as it came clear. Once Hickman left, I was kind of like, okay, I'm kind of out.
Dugan?
So Jerry Duggan is the one
Duggan.
who was writing Wolverine. So yeah, he was writing X-Men, but I thought Ewing was writing there's two X-Men titles. I thought he was writing the other one.
For some reason, I thought Kieran Gillen was on X-Men or something.
He may have been. I don't know. It's hard to keep track.
Yeah, we're okay. Back to Uncanny X-Force.
All right, so we get down to this.
It's so fun talking. I love talking about stuff that's good. It's also fun talking about things that are bad.
So Dakin is, he has Wolverine tied up, and he's like, I always, had these fantasies that you were going to come home one day, that my dad would walk in the front door, we would play catch, and you were just never there. You never showed up. And Wolverine's like, I didn't know you existed. If I'd known, I'd been there in a heartbeat. I would have gone through hell for you. And
knowing Wolverine, he would have.
He has. We've seen those stories. So what's so weird is Dakin is now part of the Genosha modern storylines, and he's like a cool guy. He's like, oh, hey, what's up? Hey, Dad, let's go hang out. And it's like
he's just playing catch with Wolverine.
Yeah, the characterizations are way off. That's my problem with a lot of Genoshas. They just ignore characterizations.
Genosha or Krakoa?
Krakoa.
Okay.
I get them mixed up, but yeah.
An island full of mutants.
Yes.
It just so happens that one of the islands is alive and is also a mutant.
Yes, and I'm a big fan of Krakoa during the Wolverine and the X-Men storyline. You'll get there. Krakoa is great. Let's see.
You know what's the weird thing about, for all intents and purposes, the last bad guy is Dakin. And even though Wolverine is the leader of the team, he's kind of been in the same boat as Deadpool, where like the stories aren't really about him.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of weird that kind of like the final bad guy is the one with the vendetta against Wolverine.
Yeah, I mean the Apocalypse story, it's kind of an Apocalypse story, and then you had a Phantom X story, then we had an Angel story, then a Psylocke story. Now this is the Wolverine story.
Well, and in a way, even with the Phantom X story, the Angel story, and the Psylocke story, they're all intertwined because of the love triangle.
Yes.
So I guess I see what they're doing, but I guess it just feels weird because it's almost like, and none of this is a complaint. I love this run. It's just an observation that Phantom X, Psylocke, and Angel are kind of like doing their own thing.
Mm-hmm. So Dakin figures out, he's like, hey, I know how to kill Wolverine. You just drown him. You keep him underwater long enough, his body will eventually be unable to heal. So they throw him in this aquarium. He's drowning, and he keeps telling Evan, "Come on, bust him out." And I can't remember what happened. Did Evan finally snap and bust him out? Is that what happened?
Yeah. So here's my question: Does he refuse to use his powers like at all, like in Wolverine and the X-Men as well?
It's more of his shape-shifting abilities. Not, I say shape-shifting, but his limbs get longer. It's not like Mr. Fantastic, but it's hard to explain. Then he has like the eye blast and stuff. A lot of Apocalypse's powers come from the celestial armor that he got. So Evan doesn't have that celestial armor like the regular Apocalypse has. Although here in this story, there is an armor they're trying to get him to use. So we get Wolverine versus Dakin, and Wolverine ends up killing Dakin the way that Dakin was planning to kill Wolverine. He holds his head underwater until he drowns. And then you find out later on
the message
from the older Wolverine was like, he said, I couldn't do it. I couldn't kill Dakin. He kills every kid at your school. You have to kill him. So again, we've seen this over and over throughout this, where the team has had to make this hard choice and kill somebody.
And ironically, like, I think this is the most morally okay.
Yeah, Dakin's not a good person, but it's still your child.
Right. This is more of a personal thing than like actual, because like there's killing a kid, there is essentially killing a member of the team, and then there's also possessing someone to kill someone else, which is that's a whole other thing. I mean, this is just the classic, I don't want to have to kill my child, but you're gonna kill all of my other children.
Yeah.
In a way.
So then Sabretooth, I think, starting a fight with Evan, and Evan starts beating Sabretooth up, and then Sabretooth's like, go on, kill me, and Evan's like, no, I won't sink to your level. And so Sabretooth's like, whatever, and he leaves, and then at the end, we see Evan's back at the school, and Deadpool has kind of taken that mentor role that Phantom X had.
I love this. Like what he says, like Evan is a symbol that anyone can be redeemed. Like, I mean, why is Deadpool making me feel things, man?
I tell you, Deadpool is an awesome character when you have an awesome writer. And so many people just make him, he's the Punisher that cracks jokes, and he's not,
You know what this is? This is because I've always said that, like, as far as movies go, I think Deadpool 2 is way better than the first one. I think that Deadpool 2 probably pulled from this because of his relationship with Rusty.
Probably. Yeah, I can see that. So yeah, we see they clone Phantom X to bring him back, but the machine gets confused because of the 3 brains. It makes 3 different clones.
There's Weapon 13, which is evil. Phantom X is Phantom X.
Yeah.
And then Cluster is a girl.
Yes.
So here's this is where my questions come in. So for those of you who don't know, at the end of AVX, or probably towards the middle, Cyclops, possessed by the Phoenix Force, kills Professor Xavier.
Yes.
And then at some point, Professor X comes back before House of X, in the body of Phantom X.
Yes, I forgot about that, where he's Mr. X.
Which one is it? Is it Phantom X? Is Weapon 13 and Cluster still out and about?
I don't think so. So here's the thing. There is another... Okay, so where do things go from here? A versus X happens right after this. So at the end of that, they form a new team, the Uncanny Avengers, by Rick Remender.
Have you read that?
I have.
Is it good?
Yes, but not as good as this. It's Havoc, the Wasp, Rogue, Sunfire, Wolverine. I want to say Wonder Man. Yeah, I think that's the team. They are dealing with the Red Skull, who has stolen Xavier's brain, and they're also dealing with Angel's kids that he had during this storyline. Kang raises them, and they grow up to be awful, awful people. There's a lot of time travel shenanigans in that one, and that builds up to Axis. I don't know if you remember the Axis storyline.
Sort of.
And then that's where Rick Remender's run kind of ends with Marvel.
I mean, I'll go ahead and just say I think I think that this kind of solidifies that I'm more of an X-Men fan than an overall Marvel fan, because everything you just said, I'm not interested in it.
It's fine. It's Red Skull gets like the powers of Onslaught, and what happens is he flips everybody on their axis. So everybody is bad is good, and good is bad. So all the villains become the heroes. Like Sabretooth's like the hero of Axis, and I think Deadpool's kind of in the middle because he's already ambiguous with his morality, anyways. Um, yeah, Axis is not the greatest storyline, but it is interesting. There's a lot about Havoc going evil, and a lot of that gets picked up in the Krakoa era, the Havoc stuff. Um, what happens to Psylocke and Phantom X after this? There is another X Force book that is more Cable X Force, but Psylocke and some of the Phantom X's are members of that. Um, what's weird is Angel also is a member of it. Like they can activate him as Archangel, but he doesn't remember anything. It's weird. I don't know. I haven't read that stuff.
Is that the Cable and the X-Force?
It may be. I think Colossus is on the team also.
I mean, I have it pulled up on Wikipedia. Cable, Domino, Colossus, Forge, Doctor Nemesis, and Boom Boom, with Havoc and Hope Summers as supporting characters.
That doesn't sound like, because I'm pretty sure Psylocke and Phantom X or Cluster or one of them are on the team.
Oh, that's Sam Humphries, Volume 2.
Yeah.
So that one doesn't involve Cable. That's what is it? Spiral, Storm, Puck. I don't know who's Puck.
He's from Alpha Flight.
Oh,
that's all you get.
Yeah. I mean, is that all I need?
He's the little dude from Alpha Flight. That's all you need.
Okay. So you haven't read this stuff?
I have not read the Sam Humphries X-Force.
So it is Cluster, not Phantom X. So where does Phantom X go after this?
Well, I think that we try to keep this PG, but I think Psylocke starts a relationship with two of them.
Because they're the same person?
I don't know. Like I said, it gets weird.
And then what about Weapon 13? Like I said, the ending gave. I have so many questions.
Yeah. So around this time is when Bendis is entering the scene right now. Also, AVX right after that is where Bendis comes into the storylines. So a lot of things just get wrecked. The 5 young X-Men really blow up a lot of the storylines. For example, Kitty is a big character in the early issues of Wolverine the X-Men, and she starts dating Iceman, and they make an awesome couple, and I love it.
Right.
And then once the 5 young X-Men show up, Kitty goes off with them to become like their Professor X, and that's when she falls in love with Star-Lord and Guardians of the Galaxy, and you start seeing how all these things are getting screwed up by Bendis. And then he's like, "Oh, and Iceman's gay." And I'm like, "But I just read him dating Kitty. What?"
Yeah, it's not.
And then, like, I think during the Bendis storyline, like, you find out that Mystique and Xavier had a son together and all this stuff, and you're like, "What are you talking about? You're just making up crap," you know?
Oh, that's interesting. I got to know who wrote this then, because I'm just still trying to figure out what, like. So apparently, Nate Summers recruits Phantom X as a part of his new X-Force team, with the promise that he'll help Phantom X find Cluster and Weapon 13. He proves a questionable ally as he constantly bickers with Psylocke. Okay, so this is a different, because this is where comics get weird, because you've got your Uncanny X-Force, you've got X-Force, and then you have got Cable in the X-Force. You don't know which one. So
and Marvel does not make this easy. Like I know I've been reading comic books since like 91, 92 Marvel comics. I can't tell you what order stories go in anymore because they reboot the numbers so often. And you go on Marvel Unlimited and you're trying to find a title, and it's like X-Force 2018, X-Force 2012, X-Force, and you're like, okay, wait, what, huh? And you can't, and it's like, oh, well, now it's Cable in the X-Force, so this is in a totally different section on our website, and it's such a mess. And I understand why you've ran off most of your audience. A new audience is never going to come in because they don't know where to start.
Oh yeah.
It's not like manga where you're like, okay, start with book 1 and go. I mean, you could kind of do that from like with the epic collections from the 60s up to like the 90s.
But you can't because they're not in print and they cost like hundreds of dollars.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so apparently X-Force Volume 4 came out during the all-new Marvel Now campaign, written by Simon Spurrier, who I'm not familiar with.
Simon Spurrier, you are familiar with. He did a documentary called Supersize This or Supersize Me or Supersize.
What?
I think it's the same guy. Why don't you go look?
I'm looking at this right now. I'm not seeing that.
Am I making that up? I may be making it up.
Now I get super.
You know what? I don't think it's the same guy.
Morgan Spurlock. Morgan Spurlock did Supersize Me.
You know what? I've been getting these two guys mixed up for years now. I just realized.
That's funny. Okay, so Simon Spurrier did X-Men Legacy. And he's currently writing Uncanny Spider-Man. Oh, he's writing Nightcrawler right now.
I'm so confused right now. It's very hot in this room back here. My brain's starting to melt.
Well, it's not just that. It's also the fact that Marvel really sucks at like labeling their books. So anyway, so this volume 4 is Cable, Psylocke, Phantom X, Dr. Nemesis, and Marrow.
I loved Marrow back in the day. So
the title has ended with 15 issues. And then X-Force didn't come back until right before House of X.
So what blows up Wolverine and the X-Men is they kill off Wolverine. There's a volume 2 after Jason Aaron's run that doesn't last very long because they kill off Wolverine. They do the death of Wolverine, and then Cyclops dies during X-Men versus Inhumans. So then you don't have Wolverine, you don't have Cyclops. Jean Grey have been dead for years. Around this time, she comes back. They start bringing back Cyclops and Wolverine, but they had damaged the X-Men so much during this that it's a mess. So we're kind of reading all the good stuff before it becomes a mess.
But you know what sucks is like I want to keep going.
I know.
Here's the thing. This X-Force with Cable, Psylocke, Phantom X, Dr. Nemesis, and Marrow sounds really enticing.
Do you know who Marrow is?
The one with the bones.
Yeah, she was a Morlock terrorist.
Morlocks, yeah.
Who joined the X-Men when Joe Kelly was writing it, and I really like those stories because there's this amazing scene. You'll have to look it up where Wolverine's doing his, I'm the tough guy, and he's trying to do the tough love. Like when they take kids like to the prison and the prison convicts yell at them and stuff. Scared straight. He's trying to do the scared straight thing, and she just takes out she can pull out the bones and stab people with them. She stabs him in the throat. And Wolverine's like, oh, and he's like bleeding out on the floor. It's such a crazy scene. You'll have to check that one out. But I really liked Marrow until at some point they cure her of her abilities, and I don't like when they cure the mutants because it makes them less interesting. Like I like Rogue when she can't control her powers. But anywho,
even the so I might be an X-Force fan because now I'm just looking at like what they've been doing with X-Force, and their teams are really cool. Like the X-Force team for Dawn of X is Beast, Black Tom Cassidy, Domino, Jean Grey, Sage, and Wolverine, with Kid Omega and Colossus joining.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a cool team. And so here's my thing. I will actually never be able to take Black Tom Cassidy seriously because of Deadpool 2.
Is he? It's been a while since I've seen Deadpool 2. Is he in Deadpool 2?
He is. He's in the so the joke with Black Tom Cassidy is so he's in the prison with Wade and Rusty. He's like, I'm Black Tom Cassidy. And he's like, I'm White Wade Wilson. and then Cable kills Black Tom Cassidy. He's like, you racist. And so that's the reason, because like that's one of the running gags in Deadpool 2 is he keeps calling Cable a racist because he killed Black Tom Cassidy.
That's funny.
And so that's why I can't take Black Tom Cassidy seriously. And that's why it's like, look at that. Old Deadpool was able to cure your racist heart. I don't know. And then I'm curious about X-Men Blue Origins, because I mean I gotta see them do this Mystique Destiny thing.
Well, we've somehow made Caleb even more of an X-Men fan. And that, I guess that was the goal all along. It's just to show him some cool characters he did not know about or had not given a second thought to.
Yeah, like, so I was a mainline X-Men fan from Claremont up to AVX, and then House of X got me in and immediately back out. And now I'm back in again.
Yeah, so next month, I guess it'll be, I think we said the first weekend of September, we'll be talking about Wolverine the X-Men. The first 20 issues or so, we'll probably talk a little bit about Schism and AVX also.
Oh, I will talk so much AVX. I don't know if I've said this before, but okay, so Annihilation is my favorite crossover, right?
Yes.
But AVX is my favorite crossover that takes place on Earth.
Okay, that makes sense. So yeah, if you want to join us here first week of September, read along at home. All these issues are available on Marvel Unlimited, except for the Captain Britain issues, which, you know, that's between Marvel and Alan Moore. I wish they'd get their acts together, but we are not sure if there's a show next week. It is
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah. So next show would be week after, where we're talking about Cyberpunk Edge Runners.
Yeah. So August 13th will be Edge Runners, and then August 20th will probably be our Everything Everywhere All at Once show.
And then the 27th, if I finish Tears of the Kingdom, which I've picked back up. I don't know. I just have this habit of like almost beating games and then not beating them. That's just what
there's this part of your brain that doesn't want it to end.
Yeah.
And I understand.
Whenever Devil May Cry 5 came out, I was on the last level for a year. And Cameron's like, you got to beat it, man. I need to talk to you about it. I'm like, I'll do it eventually. So that's why I'm saying the 27th, because like it'll force me to beat it. And I with where I'm at, because right now I think I'm still at like I just created the body for the 5th stage, like the robot body. So I think I'm almost done anyway.
Cool.
Would you? I mean, you've already beaten it. Would you say that I'm kind of on my way to the end?
Where did you say you were? You got the robot body?
Yeah. Like I just built it, and so now we're going through the depths.
Yeah, because I mean, because you've already done the stuff the Zelda stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Castle and all that. Yeah, yeah. I think I because they start talking about investigating things back at their home base, and I don't remember what the catalyst is to get the story going again, but you're right there, and then it's gaining after that. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. I mean, so I don't know what the catalyst is either, because that's that's one of my issues with Tears of the Kingdom as a storytelling device. Is I got there because I did my research in the previous game, because they were talking about like going to like the Lost Zonai ruins, and I've known where the Lost Zonai ruins were for like 3 years.
Yeah, you have to go back to. Okay, yeah, you go back to Kakariko Village, and now that Zelda has been, the stuff that happens with Zelda, then you can finish the investigation there, and then I think it takes you to the Zonai Lost Ruins.
Oh, I skipped Kakariko Village. I went straight to the Lost Ruins because I didn't know where to go, and I
Yeah,
already knew it. I already knew where the Lost Ruins were.
yeah. And then you get. It's been just long enough for me to forget everything. You get like the. Anyhow, you're really close to the end.
I've got a month.
Yeah, you'll figure it out. If not, I'm sure there's guides online that will point you the right direction. All right, so that was our show for tonight. Highly recommend you check out Uncanny X-Force.
I'm going to go ahead and say it now. This is the best run on X-Men I've ever read.
It's darn good. Uncanny Avengers, it has its moments, but it's more Avengery. There's Red Skull and Kang stuff, and
which is why I don't have interest in
it. Yeah. It's a lot of Havoc stuff. It's a lot about Havoc.
I do like Havoc, but you also mentioned Kang, which...
So I will mention that they do have to fight a new 4 horsemen in that one.
Okay.
And I'll go ahead and spoil it since you're probably never going to read it. It's like Banshee and Dakin. So yeah, the Dakin stuff continues over there. I think it's Grim Reaper, because that's Wonder Man's brother. Mm-hmm. And then who was number 4? Give me 5 seconds and I'll tell you who it is. As my keyboard stops working. Let's see. Dakin, Banshee. If I type in their name, so it'll pop up. Let's see. Banshee, Grim Reaper, Dakin.
Peter from Deadpool.
Sentry. That's the
Sentry. Okay.
Yes. So it's 2 X-Men characters, 2 Avengers characters. That's right.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So
does Evan take any...
I don't think Evan's involved with the story. I think in Axis, at the end of that, him and Deadpool are running around doing stuff.
Oh man, that's gonna like with Axis, that's gonna suck for him, because like he's such a good character. Does that make him evil?
I've only read Axis once, and it's kind of a blur. I picked it up at Ollie's on clearance, so I have a lot of Marvel crossovers I've bought at Ollie's on clearance, like Original Sin and stuff. I've got those on clearance. So, yeah. So I'm going to try to wrap up the show again. I've tried to get the show 3 times now. But as you can see, X-Men is like an endless topic. So,
which is a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, because if you've only seen the movies, you're barely scratching the surface of X-Men. It is, as a joke, I'll run down the history of Cable and Cyclops and Jean Grey, and it's insane. Like, it's just 5 minutes of complete nonsense.
And then you bring in Hope, and it gets even worse.
Yeah, if you talk about the summer history, because then you bring in Mr. Sinister and Apocalypse and Strife and all that stuff, and it's just insanity. So maybe I'll do that as a bonus video. But until then, I've been FinalMonkey.
And I'm Caleb.
And if you like this dribble, Come back next week. Talk to you then.
See ya.